Hi, I'm Laura Baker, president of the Cyber Wyoming Alliance and co-creator of the Teens Exploring Careers Camp. Today, we're going to explore the future of healthcare technology. Take notes because at the end of this video, we want you to grab a poster and some markers and come up with your own futuristic vision of a medical device. Healthcare is an emerging technology field. 10 years ago, they used paper records. Even today, there are only a handful of medical schools that teach doctors to use electronic health record systems, according to the American Medical Association. There's a major collaboration going on right now to add this to the medical school of the future. Because the stethoscope is 200 years old and the defibrillator is over 70 years old. What you saw in the hospital tour yesterday is new technology. The badges for the doors, all the way to the MRIs. And there's even newer tech coming. How many of you are in a robotics club? Robotics are huge in technology. Let's watch this video about a robot that's in some hospitals in the US. So these are expensive machines, about $80,000, but treatment of the hospital-acquired illnesses just in 2012, so that's over 10 years ago, was over $35 billion a year. But these $80,000 machines are not throwaway technology. Robotics techs are needed for our future, and we need people who can fix them if they break. Hospitals are one of the most hazardous places to work between the germs and the physical exertion and the stress. Top injuries are overexertion and bodily reaction to overexertion, like lifting, bending, reaching, often related to patient handling. That's 48% of the top injuries and $2 billion in annual lost wages. A Rick and Lift robot can lift 40 times a day, and the price is between $168,000 and $252,000. Again, this is not throwaway technology, so if it breaks, they need somebody to fix it. Let's also talk about remote robotics in doctors.
It may look like something out of Doctor Who, but this robot is being controlled by a real doctor. Meet the RoboDoc.
Hi, Alison, how are you?
Morning, Charlie. Okay.
Charlie McAllister is an intensive care specialist. This hospital in Newry doesn't have an intensive care unit, so Dr. McAllister is 25 miles away at a different hospital. But he can still speak to patients.
Are you comfortable? Are you good, sir?
The new technology has just been introduced.
And she's also on her PCAS.
But is it simply a cost-cutting exercise? Officials at the Department of Health in Northern Ireland say no. They claim it's a way of making the most of a doctor's time, and even some of the medical sceptics have been won over.
When I heard first, I had my reservations, but having seen it in action, I think it's a real benefit to the care of patients who are unstable.
But what's been the reaction from patients about having to deal with a medical machine that looks more like a Dalek than a doctor?
There are over 600 of these around the world, and the experiences people have accepted them remarkably well.
The robots may not have a doctor's traditional bedside manner, but for some patients, old habits die hard. Aisling McVeigh, BBC News.
Do you see the application in rural communities? A lot of small rural towns don't have a cardiologist, for instance. So we could have video conferencing robots. And again, these need service technicians. This is a surgical robot that can be placed inside someone's body. NASA and Virtual Incision made this, and it's remote controlled. It's an up-and-coming industry. In 2020, surgical robotic sales were expected to reach $6.4 billion, double from 2 years before. Again, who's going to fix these when they break? It opens up a lot of career opportunities, both for designing these in engineering and for maintaining them long term. This is a microscallop that delivers drugs through the bloodstream. It's being developed at the Max Planck Institute in Germany and also in Russia, and it can be 3D printed and it can swim through your eyeballs or bloodstream. It uses a scallop flashing motion to move through your bodily fluids. A big issue is how to propel the robots in the bloodstream, and they think they figured it out. They plan to be used in a delivery robots to send medication to a single spot, like a tumor or into the joints for arthritis. It's targeted medicine. Other universities are trying to propel the bots via magnetic fields, like Drexel University. For drug delivery or minimally invasive surgery, think of what this could do. If you love working with the tiny, this is an amazing area to get into. And they're even looking at it through biotech. Bacterial bots are being looked at Cheonam National University in South Korea, and they're creating them to migrate towards tumors, target them, and kill them, leaving the normal cells alone. And if there's GI issues, this is a capsule that you can swallow, and it monitors your gastric intestinal functioning. You swallow it, and the software records the findings for the doctor with no surgery needed. What about an artificial womb? It's about 20 years off from human testing. It can keep the baby alive for another 3 to 4 weeks, and human babies can now be saved at 23 weeks. This is Google Glass and surgery. Virtual reality in the operating room using HoloLens with holoanatomy. And the iKnife detects cancer as it cuts, making sure surgeons get good margins the first time and shifting cancer treatment options. And let's talk about 3D printing. Would you believe that in your lifetime, your doctor may prescribe a pill that's printed at your home? Also, there's replacement hands and fingers. This is a set of replacement fingers using a 3D printer. It was originally created for a man who had his fingers cut off, but has since scaled to help others who need replacement hands. RoboHand now has a 3D printer farm to keep up with custom orders. What about organs? Organo announced that their bioprinted liver assays are able to function for more than 40 days. That's amazing. Heart valve. Jonathan Butcher of Cornell University has printed a heart valve that will soon be tested in sheep. He used a combination of cells and biomaterials to control the valve stiffness. What about building a practice heart? In March 2016 in China, a team of experienced doctors decided to build a full-size model of the heart of a baby born with a heart defect. Their aim was to pre-plan an extremely complicated surgery on the tiny heart. And this was the first time someone had used this method in China. The team of medical professionals successfully completed the surgery, and the little boy survived with little to no lasting ill effects. What about a cranium replacement? Dutch surgeons replaced the entire top of a 22-year-old woman's skull with customized imprinted implant made from plastic. Blood vessels. Researchers at Harvard University were the first to use a custom-built 3D printer and a dissolving ink to create a swatch of tissue that contains skin cells interwoven with structural material that can potentially function as blood vessels. Low-cost prosthetic parts. Creating traditional prosthetics is very time-consuming, and it means that any modification could destroy the original molds. Researchers at University of Toronto, in collaboration with Autodesk Research and CBM Canada, used 3D printing to quickly produce cheap and customizable prosthetic sockets for patients in the developing worlds. Bone. Professor Sumita Bose of Washington State University modified a 3D printer to bind chemicals to a ceramic powder, creating intricate ceramic scaffolds that promote the growth of bone in any shape. Ear cartilage. Lawrence Bonacer of Cornell University used 3D photos of human ears to create ear molds. The molds were then filled with a gel containing bovine cartilage cells suspended in collagen, which held the shape of the ear while cells grew to their extracellular matrix. And synthetic skin. James Yu at the Wake Forest School of Medicine in the US has developed a printer that can print skin straight into the wounds of burn victims. So if you like making concoctions, think about adding skin cells to printer ink or chemical properties to printer ink to create prescriptions. If you think there's a better way for a hip replacement, you're right. They're testing 3D printing now to mimic your own body. And let's talk about diagnosis and monitoring tools. Researchers at Mount Sinai in Toronto created an app to test if tremors in alcohol abuse patients are real. It's for use in the emergency room where people who abuse the substance sometimes fake hand tremors to get sedatives like Valium, which can be life-threatening when combined with alcohol. If a patient holds the phone for 20 seconds, the app can tell through the frequency cycle if the shake is real or fake. A LiveCore is a heart monitor on your smartphone. It fits on most mobile devices and rests on your chest or fingers to record an EKG. The technology converts electrical impulses to ultrasound signals, which are then transmitted via the phone's microphone. CellScope Auto is an app and a physical phone attachment that acts as an at-home otoscope, which is the medical device doctors use to examine the inside of ears. The website is HIPAA compliant and offers reviews, comparisons, and transmissions of ear exams to medical professionals. Google joined forces with Novartis to create a small contact lens that contains a tiny sensor used to monitor glucose levels in tears. The antenna is thinner than a human hair, and the sensor is the size of a piece of glitter. The lens will make it easier to monitor blood sugar levels for those that are diabetic. And then Proteus Digital Health created one type of patch, which is worn on the body that constantly monitors vital signs like heart rate, and it connects with an ingestible pill. Other companies are also creating patches that tell you when you need medicine, administer drugs, and they monitor the body on an even higher level. This one picture, however, was created by South Korean researchers. It continuously dispenses medicine until it knows it needs to stop. Smartwatch against sleep apnea. It's wearable, and it detects sleep apnea and improves sleeping quality. And then there's TempTrack. It's a patch-like smart device which monitors body temperature 24/7. It continually senses, records, and sends temperature data to mobile devices so caregivers can keep track without unnecessarily disturbing the child. Using a pair of smart glasses or a phone camera, the system allows an ARIA agent to see what the blind person sees in real time, and then talk them through whatever situation they're in. It would be a bit easier crossing a busy street, shopping for dinner, or finding the light switch if you had somebody telling you where things were. You could even help the company by becoming an agent. It's pretty stunning technology. And then Fitbit rings instead of a watch. Those are in our possible future too. With these wearables and Google searches, patients are a lot more informed than they used to be. 90% of patients research medical information online now. And let's talk about telehealth for a second. This is all about cybersecurity. Patient records have to remain private, but doctors also have to be accessible. Medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the US, according to the US News and World Report article by Steven Sternberg in 2016. Patients are becoming more empowered. With artificial intelligence algorithms and big data processing, ICD-10 healthcare algorithms are expected to have almost a 42% increase in positive outcomes. Predictive and smart algorithms are expected to help gain these positive outcomes. And that's all tech. There are so many patient tracking systems out there. These are electronic healthcare record systems in this graph here. And they are all have to talk to each other, and they all have to be cyber secure. And this list is just for hospitals. Think about what the list would be also for medical clinics. So is there job security? Absolutely. While the cost of healthcare is increasing and the cost of administrative costs is increasing, and the HIPAA, and we've got HIPAA and then privacy, there's always job security in healthcare technology fields. Ransomware continues to hit hospitals, and in some version, it hits medical devices in radiology. And we've heard of ultrasounds, hospital beds, and other things that have been hit by ransomware. But we've also heard of hospital beds getting hacked to get into the electronic health record systems. Medical devices like insulin pumps have been hacked. And then pacemakers have also been recalled because of fear of hack. And in fact, in 2007, a doctor disabled the wireless in Dick Cheney's pacemaker because of hacking. And he replaced his original pacemaker because it was vulnerable to hacks. Medical devices on the Internet of Things are the next huge security nightmare, which means job security for you. Think of a hospital and everything that's digital, anything that can be hacked, including all that we've talked about. Fitness trackers to fit like Fitbit Flex wristbands, all the way to MRIs and badge doors. Encryption and firewalls are needed, and more. Medical device software updates are becoming a common practice, but this is a patch on top of sloppy program. Healthcare's technology problem is your job security and your opportunity to solve problems in healthcare in the future. And protecting patient data is really important, as you can see from these headlines. So what is your futuristic idea for healthcare technology? Grab a poster and a friend and brainstorm together. Draw a picture of your idea to share with the other campers.